How to play Big Fish, Little Fish. The aim of the game in Big Fish, Little Fish is to collect as many cards as possible by winning rounds. To set up the game, all you have to do is shuffle the cards and place them face down in the middle of all the players. To start the game, the youngest player turns over the top card and places it next to the main pile. This will reveal the object side of one card and the rule side of the other. Every card has 4 objects of 4 different sizes, which come in 4 different colours and in quantities ranging from 1 to 4. The rule tells players which object or colour they have to shout out to win the round. There are 6 possible rules. This rule means players need to shout out which object is the biggest in the real world. This rule means players need to shout out which object is the smallest in the real world. This rule means players need to shout out which object there is the most of on the card. This rule means players need to shout out which object there is the least of. This rule means players need to shout out which colour appears most on the card. And finally, this rule means players need to shout out which colour appears least on the card. Players get 1 attempt to shout out the correct answer, and whoever does so wins the card that was turned over. However, if a player shouts out the wrong answer, they must place one of the cards that they have won in the middle. The first player to shout out the actual answer wins this card and the card that was turned over. The final 2 rules are in relation to the big fish and the little fish. If you turn over a card that has the little fish on it, all players must shout out little fish and place their hands close together like so. If you turn over a card that has a big fish on it, all players must shout out big fish and place their hands close together like so. Whichever player shouts out correctly whilst making the hand movements wins the card in the middle and can also steal a card from the player who was the slowest. If any player completely misses that there is a fish on the card and instead follows the rule, they have to give a card to the player who was the fastest. Whichever player wins a round flips over the card for the next round and play continues until all of the cards have been used. For the last card, look at the rule before flipping it over. When all the cards have been played, count up how many each player has won, and whoever has the most wins the game. You're now ready to play Big Fish, Little Fish.